Hello. India and India's relationship with personal wealth is very intriguing. India is home to some of the richest billionaires on the planet, but it also has a place where hundreds of millions live on less than $3 a day. The rich spend more on a single dinner than a maid makes in 6 months. The poor sees it all. They drive the expensive cars, they clean the luxury apartments, and they sweep up the crowds. So, author Manu Joseph asks a terrifying, honest question in his book. Why is there a peace? Why don't the poor crawl out of their catastrophe and finish everything off? Why isn't there a violent French style revolution in India? I actually stumbled upon this book entirely by accident. I was waiting for the flight at Bangalore airport and just to kill my time, walked into this airport bookstore. Two things immediately grabbed my attention. First, the incredibly provocative title, Why the Poor Don't Kill Us, The Psychology of Indians. And second, the author himself. I vividly remember Manu Joseph's work maybe 10 years back from his massive journalistic work exposing the infamous Radia tapes controversy. If you guys remember the Barkhadat, Veer Shangvi, lots of people name were exposed in that. So let us break down his fascinating study on the psychology of Indians. Here are the dark, brilliant, and counterintuitive reason why the rich are safe so far. Reason number one is what Manu calls comfort of public chaos. Think about it. In Western countries, poor people often feel completely alienated because the public infrastructure is clean, orderly, and sterile. It feels like it belongs to the rich and they have been left behind. But in India, the public space is beautifully chaotic. The air is bad, toxic, the traffic is at a standstill for hours, it is for rich as well as poor, and the streets are unpolished. The author argues that the structured mess actually comforts the poor. It sends a constant visual message to them relax. This whole nation is a kind of mess for you as well as rich. Just like your life, it belongs to nobody's. Because the rich have to breathe the same smog and sit in the same gridlock, the poor feels a strange sense of equality in the chaos. Reason number two is a brutal deterrence. Let's be real, the poor are terrified of the Indian state. Unlike the West, where there is some baseline human rights discourse around rioters or the protesters, the Indian law enforcement system is ruthless. The depressing courtrooms, endless legal black holes, and the threat of the extrajudicial killing makes violent revolt a fast track to absolute destruction. Fear is an incredibly effective anchor for poor. But what about the hope? That leads to reason number three, the trap of education system in India. The elite have sold the poor a dream. If you think hard and get a college degree, you can join us. So instead of fighting the system, the poor spend all their energy, all their effort trying to imitate the system. Manu Joseph argues in this book that if a poor kid fails to climb the social ladder, they don't blame the capitalism or the corrupt system or the rich. They have been conditioned to blame themselves. They assume that they were not smart enough. Education acts as a massive tool of co-option that converts revolutionary anger into personal guilt for the people. Reason number four, the politician versus the activists. Most people think English speaking activists and the NGO protect the poor. The book argues that's absolutely rubbish and the fraud laid out by the left. Activists cares about abstract things like stopping a development to save wildlife, even if it hurts local people, local poor in the long run. The only people who actually listen to the poor are local politicians. At least that is what poor thinks. They throw them lifelines, free mixtures, TV, direct cash transfer, or immediate tribal protection. By handing out these survival crumbs, politicians effectively diffuse the bomb of revolution. And finally, there is a horizontal envy. Ask yourself, who do you envy the most? Your CEO or your manager? Or just your senior colleague? A poor driver doesn't hit a multi billionaire living in a skyscraper. That wealth is so distant, it feels like magic. Who does he actually envy? The guy who is just one step above him. That's a human nature. The poor envies the supervisor who gets a slightly better apartment, or the driver who makes 2000 rupees more. The poor fight the poor for rungs on the ladder, leaving the people at the very top 1%, 2% entirely untouched. Ultimately, Why the Poor Don't Kill Us isn't a book with a happy solution. In fact, it doesn't offer any solution. It's a cynical, razor sharp look into Indian psychology. It reveals that the peace exists not out of shared harmony in India, but because of the fragile mesh of fear, low expectation, fatalism, and the brilliant elite manipulation. If you're looking for a read that will completely alter your worldview, how you view everything social dynamics in India, I highly recommend picking this book. The book forces you to look at the massive inequality around us and realize that collective safety is built on a very delicate social architecture. What do you think? Is Manu Joseph right about why there is no revolution? Or is he missing a deeper story about Indian resilience? Let me know in comments. See you next time and happy reading. Thank you.